Well, hello everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Tonya Crum and I work here at KET for Kentucky Educational Television, and I have with me Amanda Dawahare, and we will introduce ourselves further in just a moment. But we thought we'd go right ahead and get started talking about the partnership that we have with Links and the KET resources that we have been able to share with Links. Let me give you a little history, and I suspect many of you are familiar with KET. We have been working in the adult education world since 1975, and we started with GED on TV television programs that aired, and I'm sure many of you have seen them or used them as VHS or DVDs in your classrooms. And we have, since 1975, we really branched into serving learners here in the state of Kentucky, but also creating resources that are available across the country through PBS stations and in many learning centers, like where I suspect many of you are working today. In 2014, with the change of the GED test, we launched a brand new curriculum called Fast Forward, and Fast Forward is now being used by over 15,000 users across the country in every state and in some U.S. territories. And so I suspect also many of you are familiar with Fast Forward, and we're going to ask you a few polling questions in a bit to get to know a little more about you. But Fast Forward has been approved, and we are a publishing partner for GED testing service, HiSET and ETS, as well as McGraw-Hill's TASK test. And so this is a product that we'd love for you to look more into. We're not going to talk about it today, but I suspect many of you are already using it in your centers. So here we are, Tonya Crum and Amanda Dawahare, and as I said, we're here at KET in the Adult Education Division, and we are working to create resources for you to use for professional development and in your classrooms. I'm interested to see who all is here with us today. So you'll see there's a poll on the screen. If you wouldn't mind to just take a quick minute, answer a few of these questions for us, what your role is and how you're using social media, personal for your class or both or neither. We'd like to get a sense of how you're using electronic and digital media currently. Okay, I'm processing. Amanda's we're looking and processing. Okay, great. So about half of you are even using social media in the classroom as well, so that's wonderful. We are going to hop right into talking to you. As I said, we create resources that teachers can use in the classroom and that you can use for your own professional development, and Amanda's going to get started talking to you about the specifics of our Links partnership.
Okay, hi there, this is Amanda. So when you go into the Links library and search for KET, you'll get some other things, but mostly the search results will give you several of our classroom and professional development resources. So we're going to show you a few of those that you'll find there. We have to explain one other thing to you, because each of these links, when you search in the Links repository and you find something you want to take a look at, those links of ours are going to take you to another site called PBS Learning Media, and that is where our resources actually live. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about Learning Media just so you know what happened to you when you click one of these. Okay, so ket.pbslearningmedia.org is just the front page with that you'll see if you want to just visit Learning Media. You'll get our Kentucky stuff. That's just what we see when we log in from KET. So this is a repository with lots and lots, thousands of multimedia resources, and a lot of them are downloadable. So we're looking at videos, interactives, photos, audio files, some printables. A lot of these mostly are K-12 resources. They're designated as K-12 resources, but they are certainly appropriate for adult ed. Many of them are absolutely appropriate for adult ed. So don't be scared away just because you don't see a lot that are specifically designated for adult education. So eventually, PBS Learning Media will ask you if you view, I think it's 7 times, you view 7 different resources, it will ask you to create an account. This is a completely free account. It's just a username and password and designating yourself as a teacher. But once you do that, you also get to save some resources, create folders, share resources, and even assign, if you want to have your students log in, there is a student site and you can assign them lessons right through Learning Media. So we encourage you to poke around once you get in there. You will recognize some of our other friends on Learning Media. We have contributors from, include public media organizations from all over the country. So as you're looking at these logos, I hope you're recognizing a lot of the subject areas that are going to be available to you. So you're seeing science, nature, history, art, current events and news, investigative journalism, all that stuff. There's going to be lots and lots for you to find. It's not just KET. And there is one more poll question popping up for you. How often do you use video in the classroom, if ever? And in just a few minutes, we'll give you some tips about how to do that. And then Tonya is, before we get into classroom resources, Tonya's going to tell you a little bit about the professional development that's available.
And so we have a history of, I'd say, over 20 years of providing professional development resources for teachers in adult education specifically. Again, that's not just in the state of Kentucky, but we've been doing that across the country for a number of years. We have a really strong partnership with Kentucky Adult Education, and Kentucky Adult Ed is located here in Kentucky. Obviously, they oversee our learning centers here, and we've been creating resources in partnership with them. And one such resource is on the screen right now, and that's GED Test Info. Over 6,000 teachers across the country have used one or more of these courses, and they really were developed in partnership not just with Kentucky Adult Ed, but with GED Testing Service. And so we came online with the math and the Reasoning Through Language Arts courses in early 2014. And then in the last year, we also offered science and social studies. These courses are full of information that you'd need to know to help your students be better prepared for the GED test. Yes, these are GED specific because that's where our first partnership was housed. But all of these courses are available through PBS Teacher Line, which is in partnership with Learning Media, as Amanda was telling you about. But all the courses include video, and they include classroom application, and there's even a certificate at the end where you can earn hours of credit if your state or institution accepts those kinds of certificates. These courses also, all 4 of them, include video of the famous Bonnie and Susan. So Bonnie Goonan and Susan Pittman, as you all well know, are trainers who talk to us and teach us best practices for GED test instruction. And so I'm going to show you a clip of one of those videos right now. So you can see it was filmed with actual adult ed teachers. So we'll take a look at this video.
Oftentimes, we've taught that strategy of read the question and then go find the answer. That's not going to work on this kind of a writing prompt. So they must read the passage and the question. Next, they need to unpack the prompt. And we've been somewhat surprised when we ask teachers, how many of you unpack prompts in your classrooms? And often we get this, no one. And we go, well, how do students know what to write? Well, we unpack the prompt, and we've got a quick and easy route from a fellow teacher to do that. The next step is our students need to rewrite the question in their own words. They turn that question into a thesis statement. Or as we go forward with science, they're going to sometimes have to turn that into a hypothesis. Then collect the details, relevant details from the passage, and determine what they're going to use as they organize those details into logical order. And then finally, or in conclusion, they'll draft their answer. And that's a long way down that list there. And of course, reread and revise and edit before they hand it in. That's good writing. So how do we do it? What Susan and I see is that most of those things we're already doing in the classroom. We've got good, strong strategies for teaching, editing, and revision. We have good strategies for teaching that drafting process. But we may not have the strategies of unpacking prompts, setting up the thesis statement or claim, or identifying evidence. Why do we continually use the word thesis statement? Because that's the word that's used not only in high schools and middle schools, but elementary as well when they see thesis statements. So there's no reason we shouldn't be using that in adult ed.
And so as you'll see there with that video, we're really talking to constructed response in general. So I think someone asked a question about, are they appropriate for high set? So the video instruction and many of the teaching practices that are presented are going to be effective for all tests because we are talking to some very standard principles about writing and so forth. Now this particular set of courses is GED Test Info, but we're also interested to know what kinds of professional development do you need? So if you'll just type in your answers there, I'm going to give you all a few minutes to do that. Not a few minutes, a minute maybe, to do that while I continue to talk. But at KET, we continue to create lots of different professional development resources where we go into classrooms and film best practices. We like to say and remind people it's authentic classroom video. So it's not a teacher in a studio on a green screen trying to teach you something without the interference, so to speak, of your students. These are teachers in real classrooms with real adult ed students trying to get across some of these difficult concepts that are really important for our learners. And you can continue to fill out that poll. I want to show you a few of the resources in PBS Learning Media. If you're searching for, you link from links to a couple of these resources. You're going to see teaching strategies in the adult education classroom. You're going to see math instructional strategies and language arts instructional strategies, ways to deal with learning differences in the classroom, and specifically we partnered with Kentucky Adult Education and PowerPath to work on presenting resources to teachers who are really trying to help students recognize some of the learning challenges they have and find strategies to deal with those in the classroom. We also partnered with Kentucky Adult Education to help them document the standards in action, the SIA process that they used here in the state of Kentucky with the teachers. And that's, I know, a process that's been used in many states. And so we are always happy to work with Kentucky Adult Ed as they have the finger on their finger on the pulse of what teachers need here in our area. Oftentimes that meshes with what you need out in the rest of the country, but not always. And so we really look to offer all of you what professional development resources you need. The next video I'd like to show you comes from a recent collection we added with Steve Hines. Many of you may know him from Chicago in his adult numeracy instructional techniques. This whole collection has 5 videos, and it includes instruction from where Steve was in our studios here at KET with local adult education teachers, showing and demonstrating for them the strategies that are most effective. So let's take a minute and watch this one.
The first thing I want to do is we're going to talk a little bit about computations with decimals. Even though we're not going to deal with negative numbers, we are going to work with functions that involve decimal numbers. As you probably know, those of you who teach math, our students have difficulty doing operations with decimals. And even before they try and do any operations with decimals, they sometimes have difficulty even comparing two decimals and telling you which is the larger number. Can anyone have an idea about what the common student response can be when asked to compare these numbers? What will they often say? Why would they say that?
Because 8's larger than 4.
Yeah, so they're confusing whole number thinking, and they're bringing it into decimals, right? So that is an issue. And it also, sometimes we ask them to think about these numbers. They might also think these are not the same size. They might think one is larger. Which is the one they'll think will be larger? And I think we do a disservice to students when we just tell them, hey, you could just add a 0 on there, and it doesn't change it at all. It's the same number. Just telling them that, they will nod their head and they will believe you because you're the teacher. But believing you is not the same as understanding why it is. So because you can imagine if a student is told that just adding a 0 doesn't make any difference, then they might be unsure if, well, adding a 0 doesn't make any difference, then maybe those are the same.
Okay, so this is Amanda coming back, and hang on, I'm waiting for my slides to come back so I can move you guys ahead. So, so we can see, you can imagine that using video for professional development is efficient and convenient, and there's a lot of ways you can, it's pretty easy to see why we would use video for professional development. But I want to talk to you a little bit about what it can do for you in the classroom. So there's also another poll question there for you. What kind of online resources? Where do you find any online resources if you use them? So video can be a great access point for people with lots of different learning styles and lots of different ability levels. And in fact, if you have lots of different learning styles and ability levels in the same room, a video is a really nice way to reach everyone. It can add engagement and comprehension to lecture. You can give students something to watch when they leave the classroom and have them come back and discuss it. And a lot of students find responding to a video a lot less intimidating than responding to a reading or responding to you when you're just lecturing. People feel confident about their ability to watch a video and talk about it. That usually doesn't get people real nervous. So you might find that it's a good way to get conversation going in your class. If you guys, looks like you're about done with the poll, so we're going to stop that and move ahead. There we go. Now, when you're using video in the classroom, there are a few things that are going to make it work for you. You want to prepare the students by telling them what they're going to watch, why they're watching it, what they should be watching for. You want to participate with them. You want to demonstrate active viewing for them. If you're checking your phone, checking your email, stepping out to get a tea while the video plays, they're not going to view it actively. It's a good idea to pause before or after something important to focus their attention to a certain question, to make a comment, to just again demonstrate that active viewing. Here's what we want you to be thinking about while you're looking at this video. Practice. Oh, right. The last P is practice. So after the video, you do practicing by employing a follow-up activity for individual group work. This is a way to continue this discussion going, and be explicit about how this activity connects to that video. Don't expect them to find that connection. You just need to come out and say, here's, we're following up with this because it connects to the video this way. So if you use these tips, you'll find that the video in your classroom goes a little bit more smoothly. So with that in mind, some of the instructional and classroom resources you're going to find in that links repository include a whole lot of information for the work keys assessments. If anybody has to work with the work keys assessments, we have lots and lots of resources for you there. There's videos, background essays, teaching tips, discussion questions, printable worksheets. It's all aligned to standards. We address each of the work keys assessments, locating information, reading for information, and what's the applied mathematics, right? And we do several levels of each of those assessments. So there's just a ton of stuff there. And also, another really large collection we have is a measurement and geometry collection that is going to have a similar setup. So you're going to have videos, discussion questions, lots of ways to help you do those good practices with bringing video into your classroom. Okay, the one we want to actually take you into learning media to show you is a workplace resource about preparing for a job interview. So we'll go ahead and share a screen now. To give us 1 second to set that up. Okay, and okay, there we go. Hopefully you should be seeing the screen now. So this resource is a little bit different than the ones we showed you. We showed you a lot of video plus background essays and printables and so forth. This is another format in learning media called a self-paced lesson. So this is something you can work in your class together, you can work through it together, or you can have people look at it individually. It's I like to work with them. We tried to, this part is about cleaning up your social media accounts and making sure that you use a realistic profile picture of yourself and not your kids or pets. So we tried to update it. We tried to make it more fun. It's got video with a real career counselor who gives lots and lots of wonderful tips and reminders about what to wear, how to be polite, what to do if you have things in your background that you're not proud of, how do you address them. So we tried to make it fun and something a little bit different for your class. So we do have one video so you can see what the career counselor video looks like. So we'll go ahead and go to that now.
A lot of people make the mistake of bringing up past employers, bad anything, bad ex-wives, husbands, in-laws, bad experiences. Not a good thing to do. Do not talk badly of other people because it's a reflection on you, and they're thinking, well, if he's talking like this about them, that's how he's going to be thinking and talking about me. And again, it goes back to your judgment. It's all about, do you know what to say, not to say, and when to say it? And talking about the past in a negative way does not help. I had an employer tell me that when people come in and the first 5 minutes of the interview, they start talking about how difficult it was to get here and all the orange barrels I had to drive through, it's a red flag for her. And she says, yeah, that shows somebody with a bad attitude, potentially. So forget about the past. And if you're worried about talking about something related to a bad job or a bad situation in the past, have your remarks planned and well thought out and only talk about the future, what you're going to move towards. Yes, that happened. I learned from it, but I'm here now and I have worked on that issue, whatever it is, and I want to move towards the future.
Okay, so as we're coming back, you may have seen, we're seeing a little bit of buffering in our videos as we're watching, and that's perfect because it reminded me to tell you anytime you're using technology or multimedia resources or video in your classroom, there's always, it's technology, it doesn't always work, it buffers, it's a little bit nerve-wracking, but it's okay. Just don't panic. The video will play or it won't, and you'll move on and you'll try it again another time. But keep in mind that technology is always going to give you trouble. There's no magic. There's no magic. I can't tell you anything that is not going to make that happen, that it's all going to work perfectly for you. No, it's still going to buffer and it's going to stop in the middle and the whole thing's going to crash. But you'll get through it and you'll try it again, and every time it'll be a little easier. So we're going to move on. Tonya is going to tell you how to keep in touch with us and kind of keep these conversations going.
I love to see that many of you are using video in the classroom and you've found a couple of sources that work for you. And I'm happy to have added to the links collection this new set of KET resources that you now have available to you through links and through PBS Learning Media. And so as you go to links and you get into PBS Learning Media, I would recommend that you try a few searches there. Know that all of that content has been reviewed and it's been curated, and so just like with links, you know that what you find there is going to be a quality resource. And in Learning Media, you can look by grade level, by standard. You can look for just video or just a lesson plan or just an image. And so I would encourage you to continue to try. We have found that with teachers who are just starting to step out on the edge of using technology in instruction, that if you try small things, and as you get some successes, then you're willing to try additional things there. And so I would just encourage you to say, start small and look through the links collections and find these KET resources, again, that are those high-quality video resources you can use in the classroom. And KET is always offering new information to you, and so this Tech Teaching Tips is an e-newsletter that comes just once a month, but every month it has a lesson plan for you. Right at the top, it tells you what the objective is, gives you the subject and a classroom activity. It links you to a video you can use. Many times there's an app you can download for those of you who are venturing out into using tablets and handheld devices in the classroom. You'll also see new news, or you'll hear about new collections that we've added to Learning Media. And I saw someone say in the chat that YouTube, some of these resources you've seen there, we're trying to put these videos in as many places as we can so that you have access to them. And you have access to the resources that are going to make you successful in the classroom. Also, you see our Twitter handles there if you are using Twitter. And so I'd encourage you to do that. I'm going to ask for questions. I suspect we'll be watching the chat, and we've been trying to answer as we've seen them come along. So go ahead and throw your questions our way through the chat window there, and we'll do our best to answer them. But I just wanted to make you aware that if any of you are going to be at the COED conference in Texas in April, we will be there, and there will be quite a few sessions that we're going to be able to share new resources with you. And the way technology can be used in corrections classrooms, for instance. We're piloting some really great opportunities there in a couple of states with correctional facilities. How to work with employers in the way that you can help them meet their workforce goals. Best practices for distance learning, as well as how to do a blended classroom approach. And you'll hear from a rural community here in Kentucky and about how she's doing that on a small budget. I think all of those are really, they're going to be great presentations and you won't want to miss them. And Jesse reminds us here in the chat that we will be able to answer any questions as you are in the evidence-based PD group on links. If you are a part of that group, we will certainly be monitoring and facilitating discussion there, and welcome any questions or comments that you may have. So Jesse, I think at this point we'll turn it back over to you for any announcements you might have for the following webinars. Thank you all so much for your time and attention today.
Sure. Thank you guys so much for your presentation. This was really informative and helpful. And I just want to remind people that if they do have questions right now, we do still have Tonya and Amanda. So if you have questions you'd like to type in, please go ahead and type them into the chat box, and they'll take them now. Or you can type them in to the discussion group, and we will answer them this week. In the meantime, we do ask that you complete a survey for today's webinar. The link is available to copy and paste up on your screen, and the information to type in is at the top as well. The title, presenters, and today's date. Yes, I can put the link to the survey in the chat. Anyway, you can just click right on it, Eunice. There you go. Okay, well, thank you guys very much for your time and for your participation today. We'll give it another minute or two to make sure nobody has any burning questions, and then we will hope to see you in the community. The link to these resources. So Adam, as if you scroll back up, there's a couple of resources that are already linked to in the chat, but you can also get to them from the Links Resource Collection. You can do a little search for KET, or you can go to the PBS Learning link as well. All right, well, I want to thank everybody for their participation today, and please fill out today's survey and join me in thanking Tonya and Amanda for that very informative webinar. Thank you guys so much. All right, everyone, have a great day.